They truly do hate gun owners, and they don't care about our rights.
Welcome to Lock and Load Podcast. My name is Josh.
And I'm Michelle.
And we talk to you about Connecticut 2A issues. Today is hopefully our final time we talk about HB 7042.
Well, in this aspect of it, yes.
Yeah. So it has now been signed into law by Lamont on June 10th at some time. There was no Facebook post. There was no coverage. There was no press conference. He just signed the bill like it was, I don't know, an overdue, I don't know, utility bill, Eversource, you know, and moved on. So I got a text notification from Gun Guru today, Todd, and saying that the bill was passed. And I looked it up and I was like, no, it was passed yesterday. So today is the 11th when we're filming this. This will come out, I don't know, whenever it comes out, whenever you guys are seeing this. But we want to go over the final copy signed into law, HB 7042.
And break it down so that everybody understands.
Yep.
And we don't give any misinformation.
Yeah. No misinformation on any podcasts that are out there. So this is, it's really not even our interpretation. This is how it reads when you read things in English. And this is us as FFL owners, me as a gun store, Michelle, who has an FFL, reading this bill and understanding the intent of this bill and the wording of this bill.
Well, and I'll start off straight and simple. I've been on the phone with the rep from Gun Owners of America, and his exact words to me were, the people proposing this, he goes, I've tried to give the benefit of the doubt and thought it was ignorance. He goes, this is just straight up malicious. So this is not something that we're going, oh my gosh, this is malicious. Oh my God, this is just, they're trying to shut down gun stores. No, this is across the board. People from all over the country are realizing what this truly is.
So Blumenthal and Murphy both introduced a federal version of this to overturn Placa.
Yes.
As soon as it was passed the Senate, it was like a day or two later.
It's not going to go anywhere though on the Fed line, I don't think.
Not right now.
With the way the makeup is, I think it's good there. I'm waiting for this to see a lawsuit and have an injunction.
Well, so this bill takes effect October 1st of this year of 2025, and we will see. So let's start breaking it down. There is a pro aspect in the bill here, and honestly, I don't think it's that pro. It is what it is. You just can't get charged now for discharging your firearm within city limits if it's self-defense.
Isn't that great?
Which would be, I think, thrown out in most self-defense cases anyways.
It is.
But now it just says we can't have that. So that was a pro in the bill. I guess that's what...
I think that was the one pro.
Well, yeah, that's why we were watching it closely.
Because it had a good aspect?
Yeah. So, and the wording changed. So accountability for the firearm industry. So firearm members. So let's define what this is. Clear in the bill. It is sellers, wholesalers, and marketers, manufacturers too.
Well, and it's also like when you talk about when you talk about industry members, right? Most people go, okay, Glock, SIG, or they're looking at, any of the distributors, the main distributors that we work with, or the retail store. But that's not only it. We have to keep in mind too, there's also a lot in Connecticut. There's a lot of small businesses that make firearm parts. Now, the parts and accessories was taken out of this. However, you're still talking industry members, which can be stretched if chosen to be. Again, that's the interpretation part. It's what's in writing is in writing, but being in the industry the way Josh and I are, we've also seen this over the years when they go, well, it's written this way, so we can pass it. And they do. And then later on, the consequences are because they go, oh, well, yeah, but that covers that too.
So those firearm members must implement reasonable controls.
We'll get into that in a bit.
Well, what do we think reasonable controls are? Because it's not defined in the bill. Now, they tell us that we have to prevent straw purchasing. Guess what? On a federal level, that is illegal. Straw purchasing, that's why there's a term for it, is illegal. So we already prevent against that. Traffickers and prohibited persons.
Same thing.
Same thing. You have a background check system for a reason through the state of Connecticut, through NICS.
Which was funny because when the antis did their testimony, they said this was going to close up any of the loopholes of the people doing this.
There's no loopholes.
There is no loophole. Why don't you just prosecute the ones that do it instead of prosecuting or going after the ones that are actually trying to do things legally?
We have to avoid marketing firearms in a way that promotes unlawful use. We're going to cover that a little bit later. Prevent designing firearms that are easily convertible into illegal firearms. We'll cover that too. We're going to break these down. And ensure compliance with state and federal law, which we already do. Now, civil lawsuits can be brought against individuals, be brought by individuals, municipalities, or the state. Good old Tong. So,
and he's on a rage right now. He's off suing the whole freaking world.
Yep, he is in civil court. So, in civil court here, could be held. Any FFL could be held civilly liable for this. So some key takeaways, right? I tried to break this down when I was doing the research on this, is that dealers and manufacturers and wholesalers can be sued if a product is misused and they didn't enforce reasonable controls. Again, not defining what those are. Marketing firearms. So maybe showcasing breaching techniques or self-defense drills could trigger liability if seen as encouraging unlawful use.
But they also were talking about it in the House and Senate. They were talking about the advertising. And if somehow the advertising gets into Connecticut, but it's not legal to do here, but it's legal in another state. They were also bringing that up and saying, so the advertisers could get in trouble that way too, which is ridiculous.
Guns that are convertible, I really want to dive separately into that. So Glocks and fixed mags, we have to vet who we're doing business with too. So I mentioned this in a previous podcast. There's not perfect gun stores out there in Connecticut. There's some questionable gun stores or questionable people I would do business with. In my case, not do business with. And if I'm knowingly doing business with them, that could face liability on me.
But there's also a lot of things that you don't know. And how do they prove whether you knew it or you don't? That's what's going to get tricky.
Yep. This whole thing is designed to go around Placa, which was just used to defend Smith & Wesson from Mexico's lawsuit.
It was 7 different manufacturers they were going after.
Oh, well, Smith was the big one.
7 manufacturers, and there was somebody else in there too. But I was very happy to see that get kicked.
So Placa stopped or saved Smith from that. So let's talk about reasonable controls, or what we think reasonable controls are, because it's not explicitly defined in here. So straw purchasing, when someone's buying a gun on behalf of a prohibited person. Firearms trafficker, so that's somebody coming in, buying a gun, and then giving it or selling it to another person. In Connecticut, we have 3 most of the time this is handguns, guys.
Yes.
We have 3 handguns a month, unless you're a firearms instructor, then it's 6 handguns a month. And within 30 days is what I'm not a month necessarily.
It's actually 31 days.
Oh.
You can't buy till the 31st day.
Okay. So, but maybe most of you don't know this. You probably don't. As an FFL, if you purchase 2 handguns within a 5-day business period, we have to legally complete what's called a 3310, which is a federal document that gets sent off to the ATF. Literally email it right away by the end of business day. That is the requirement. And your chief law enforcement officer, most of the time, your local PD, your chief of police, or a state PD. So,
and it goes to the state. And we have to keep one with our records.
Yeah.
So there's 4 copies of this.
That gets attached to the 4473 as well.
But guys, don't panic about this. And because I hear people all the time go, well, then I'm not buying ever 2 within a week. We have been doing that for probably, I want to say, at least 20 years.
Yeah.
So that's nothing new. And that's not going to have the ATF knocking on your door. They're looking for certain things. And as long as you're not doing anything nefarious or, reselling it, doing the trafficking thing, nothing's going to be said. They understand people buy guns, but we've already been doing this is what he's getting.
This is nothing new. A 3310 is a federal form that has been around for probably 20 plus years, if not longer. But in Connecticut, we hit that 3 anyways, and there it is. So prohibited persons. So under state and federal law, felons, mentally adjudicated, domestic abuse, people that won't pass a background check when they obtain their pistol permits.
They can't buy without a pistol permit in a store anyway.
Correct. Yeah. Chris Murphy, you can't just walk in and buy a gun.
And if you are a store and you are selling them to people who are doing these things, then
you should get shut down.
Correct. Somebody should come in and investigate and take care of it. And that I'm okay with because these are the laws. Okay. I know I waver a little bit as far as laws and unjust laws and stuff, but if this is the law, you need to know the consequences if you break the law. We've talked about that a lot. And this is against the law. So if a store is doing that, a store should be shut down. But you shouldn't penalize all the stores by making all of this other stuff go with it.
It's kind of like assault weapons, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, only the good guys get penalized.
Yeah.
Criminals don't.
And then individuals at substantial risk of using a firearm unlawfully or to harm themselves or others. Now, this is subjective because industry members are supposed to reasonably know this. So how am I going to know that you're going to do something with this firearm? If you say something, of course, right? I have ears. I have decent hearing, not perfect, but decent hearing. So of course, like if somebody is like, I'm going to go get this gun and use it for this. And I'm like, cool, you're not buying a gun. Get the hell out of my store.
Yes.
That's pretty simple.
Yes. Amazon has a sale on crystal balls. Just so you know.
Oh, do they?
Yeah. So you can look into that.
I should get that.
Yes.
Is it Prime?
Yeah, it is. You can get it next day. So, problem solved. No, but seriously, everybody. So the problem with this and looking at substantial risk and it being so subjective is people need to understand this is also going to cause some issues where the customer may feel discriminated against. I'm not saying it's definitely going to happen, but if there's depending on the store and depending on how that store is concerned about their liability risk. Okay. Because I'll tell you, it's a scary thing owning a business and being in a gun store now, knowing that anybody can sue you if you step out of line slightly. So some people may be a little more overcautious. Please understand it's due to what this bill is. I know people will get mad at the gun stores and, the stores that they go to, but please make sure that it truly is a discrimination on who you are versus them trying to protect their own business. And that's just the only thing I'm going to say about that part, because I can see it coming down the pike and it's not pretty.
So some interpretation challenges. Reasonable cause to believe is very subjective liability standard. So dealers are supposed to know someone was risky even though no law was broken. How are we supposed to know this in general? And readily convertible. So when we talk about something that's convertible in firearms, that's also vague. This entire bill is very, very vague. So let's talk about readily convertible. Now, this has been talked about by an organization. This has been talked about a YouTuber, and I don't remember if I've talked about it in the past, but we're going to talk about it now. Glocks, and Glock switches. We did talk about Glock switches. Yes, I remember.
But anything is convertible. If you have a saw, you can make a shotgun into a sawed-off shotgun.
I thought you were making an assault saw.
Maybe. And I'm not suggesting anyone do this.
That would be illegal. That'd be a short barrel shotgun. That is a federal crime.
But the way that they define this, anything can be used to convert a firearm.
Oh, my little notes here. Glocks are widely targeted because aftermarket parts like auto sears or switches can convert them into machine guns, which is highly illegal. Switches are already federally illegal, but the argument that Glocks are too easily convertible could lead to bans or restrictions on selling Glocks. It says especially here Glock gens probably 3 through 5 and the 9mm and the 40 cal, the full size ones.
3 through 4 more. 5s aren't as convertible from what I understand.
Okay.
I could be wrong.
I have no idea. But the 9mm and the 40s, just because that's what the switch is like, they're in like the Glock 19 aspects. So that will kill a lot of Glocks right there. Probably not the 43Xs, probably not the 10mm of the 45s, but
where there's a will, there's a way, dude.
Of course there is.
And that's what, at the end of the day, when they talk about all this convertible and everything, if there's a will, there is a way.
Of course there is.
But the legal gun owners aren't doing this.
No. And especially Glock switches.
But we're not prosecuting the criminal with the gun.
Yeah.
Just saying.
So AR-15s, stripped or unfinished lowers. So right now, we could sell you a stripped AR-15 lower because you can build it into a bolt action, a fixed mag, or a rimfire. Right. Those are your 3 options for legal AR-15s in Connecticut. But could you not build it into that? And then I'm liable because I sold you the complete or stripped AR-15 receiver. And I'm not talking about 80% here. We're talking about the serialized lower, right? The completed, what the ATF considers a gun. Because 80% are illegal. So we're not going down that train already. So I could be held liable for that. So why am I going to sell them anymore?
And there's a lot of stores that's their mindset. They're like, I mean, think about it. Even after the AR ban back in after Sandy Hook, a lot of people stopped selling. They wouldn't sell others because they were worried about getting in trouble with the law. Now with this, pretty much
even worse.
Any gun you have in that store, you risk somebody doing something illegal with it and it coming back on you, even though you didn't hand it to them and say, here, build this way.
So this one's really important, and I think you guys should pay attention to the following sentence here. Fixed magazine AR-15s. Sure what a fixed magazine firearms in general. This is what a lot of people are buying nowadays because that's what we can have. A lot of stores are selling them. Most of them are selling some sort of AR-15 variant with a comp mag. Comp mag's a great design. For the legality aspect, very simple to install. It literally throws in like a regular mag and it locks into place.
And then you polymer it if you're gonna make it permanent.
Epoxy it, yeah.
Epoxy it, that's it.
So, but can you break or remove the epoxy?
Where there's a will, there is a way.
Correct. So what we actually started doing here is we use a soldering iron and we melt it.
There you go.
So we have one of the little bits heated up, and then right where the seam is where we would put the epoxy underneath that little plate, we melt it all around it. And it comes out pretty nice when you take your time and take, 2 minutes to do it. And that way there's, in my opinion, that's a little bit of liability protection because now you have to break the entire magazine out to get that out. Like you have to take out the spring, take everything out, and you're going to have to crack that mag out to get it out. And at least it provides, I hope it would provide me as a store
another layer,
an argument of defense saying, this is what we did. What I also think we're going to end up doing, reading into this a little bit, is use the cross armory kits in conjunction with the comp mags, with the soldering of that. So that way they're screwed in. We put the little plunger, the butt plug in. And this is what we call butt plug. And then it's even harder to get out now because now you have to drill that out.
Yep.
To then break the magazine out, which will make the gun a little bit more expensive too. I mean, comp mags aren't cheap as it is, but those cross armory kits are another $25, I think. $22, something like that. But it is what it is. If we want to do legal AR in that platform, that's our option.
We're just going to, and that's, unfortunately, we're at the point where that's what we have to do. And I can hear customers now complaining, why did the cost go up? Or why do you have to do it this way? Or why do you have to do that? Unfortunately, guys, you need to understand this is our bread and butter. This is how we make a living. And this bill did pass. Josh and I were both up there doing testimony and wish we had had a lot more people just across the board. I'm hoping that maybe stuff, and I say this regularly, but bills like this getting through, I hope it wakes up more and more people when election time comes. I mean, there's so many things, not just guns right now. Look at what's going on in this country. Hopefully people will get involved and maybe we can stop some of this basically hemorrhaging that we're doing of the industry.
So another aspect is, what about AR-15 magazine pistols with pistol braces? So I mean, about AR-15 pistols, right? With a brace on them, because braces are braces. Again, they're not stocks, as the ATF tried to do that a couple of years ago.
Well, with a pistol, it makes sense because that's what wraps onto your wrist.
Yep, right. A stabilizing brace. Yep. But in that, you have normally, especially with the SB aspect, you have a regular tube. So is that easily convertible to a stock to make it an SBR now? That's a valid question, isn't it?
My outside voice is going to tell you we don't ask those kinds of questions, because why give them more ideas? Not you guys, but our politicians. But you guys shouldn't be getting ideas either. Understand, when we explain this to you, we're not giving you a step by step. You know, there's other aspects out there. Anybody can find anything in today's day and age. We all know this. Google's your friend. We've talked about this. You know, it's one of those things where we're just trying to let you know the things that we're doing on our end so that you guys coming into the stores understand why the changes are happening and why the stores, you know, you may understand, oh, okay, so they have a liability thing so somebody can sue them. Okay, cool. But there's a lot of stuff not cool. And I didn't mean that way, but you know, you're like, okay, I get it. But at the end of the day, us covering our butts and doing the CYA means we have to implement other standards and other steps. Some cost money, some do not, but it's going to change the way business is done across the board from the business side.
And anyone that says this isn't going to affect stores is wrong.
Well, anybody that says it's not going to affect civilian gun owners or any gun owner is wrong. Eventually, it may not. Okay, it's going to go into effect in October. We may not see the full effects of this for a year or 2 years, but over time, things are going to start to change. And the gun stores will change immediately because we don't want to have, be winging out there in the breezes. But some of the detriment that you as a gun owner may start to see may not happen right away. It's going to take time for everything to kind of settle in. We've talked about it before. What guns are going to be available to Connecticut, not because of Connecticut's laws. Well, not because of Connecticut's leadership, more so because we already are unable to buy certain firearms because of Connecticut laws, because they're worried about the convoluted nonsense. And now we've just added a whole bunch more that puts a huge liability on manufacturers and wholesalers. And are they going to continue to work with us? I don't know. Is it a possibility that they will? Yes. Is it a possibility that they won't? Yes. So it's a matter of we'll see what time brings, but we want you guys to be aware so that there's no crap. I didn't know this could happen. We're not doing the doom and gloom. We're trying to just inform you guys.
There is a store out there right now.
Just one.
And I'll tell you who afterwards, that says this isn't going to affect their business at all. That we are, what's the word? Fear mongering.
Us? You and me?
Anyone that's talking about this bill. This person also thought HB 6667 wasn't going to change anything either. And guess what? We can't sell others anymore. So it's a super intelligent individual.
I don't even sell guns on a regular basis, but I do transfers, and I do storage for anybody that has gotten red flagged and stuff like that. It most definitely puts things into a different perspective from my business. And I'm not even doing gun sales every day.
So the last aspect to this is marketing. How we market things, right?
Your Facebook ads,
how we post things on Instagram or Twitter or wherever stores post things, maybe on our own website
and magazines. Like I put ads in magazines and stuff. I don't know, like if an organization reaches out and stuff like that. So anywhere.
So we can't use words that could be considered harmful.
Offensive, I would also go with, because I think they would find a way to twist it.
Geared towards youth. Because that was the whole Sandy Hook lawsuit. That's how they won against Remington, because they connected it back to a video game,
which is ridiculous.
Which was Modern Warfare 2. Joshua Koskoff.
Yes.
Right, that's how you say his name.
Yeah, made millions, like millions.
Yeah, so he testified in favor for 704-2. And him and Fishbein went back and forth, and it was a pretty interesting back and forth, to be honest.
It actually was.
But like the arrogance of Joshua is just astounding. I really hate people that are assholes that share my name.
Well, when you make tens of millions of dollars off of one lawsuit and all you see are dollar signs coming back at, I guarantee you he's going to be one of the first ones going, I'll take that case. I got that.
And so if he's supporting something, it's a bad bill.
Yep.
Apparently not bad enough for some people.
They don't care. They wanted it to be a bad bill. They want this. I have a friend, and probably about 12 years ago, he started saying this. And I might have said this in a past podcast, I'm not sure. But he used to go, we would talk about politics because that's what I was doing. And he would go, the Democrats hate us and they want us to die. As far as gun owners, he was referring to himself as a gun owner. And it used to put chills down my spine. I was like, that's awful. Like, that's aggressive. I think that's a little over top. I don't truly think they hate us and want us to die. I think they just don't understand. And I think they need education and blah, blah, blah. I've come to the conclusion after watching what the two hearings, so the two back and forth debates on the House and the Senate over this bill, they truly do hate gun owners and they don't care about our rights. They truly do not. This is not about
CAGV is absolutely a horrible organization.
But our Democrat leadership is.
Of course.
They're just as dumb.
CAGV, the people that show up there, they're rude people. Everyone I've seen talk to somebody else, they are rude or Richards.
Most of them have mental health issues and will testify to it, which I find very interesting. But yet those are the ones that they're like hanging on every word for, is that.
So I'm going to make this video at some point and you guys will see it on YouTube. The 23rd District, Senator Heron Gaston.
That's a name.
Yep. He's from Bridgeport. He went on to TikTok. He has his own little TikTok. And in the middle of the debate for 7042, while Samson is speaking, does a 6-second TikTok, because apparently maybe he thought it was Vine. Some of you will get that reference. And says, what was it? We don't care about your gun rights. I really don't want to misquote him here, but I don't think I have it right on here. And in the middle of the bill, like, your job is to be in the Senate and your job is to vote on these bills, not to go and make social media videos. And I just thought that was just disrespectful in general.
But if you look at that side, that party, look at how many different TikTok, Facebook, Instagram posts have been put up by several different legislators in Connecticut on that side of the aisle that have been extremely disrespectful. And if a Republican did any of that, they would be hung out to dry.
During hour 7 of Republican filibuster on gun safety bill, this is his, we're going to play it to the mic here. And he's doing a little dance to that in the middle of the debate.
How old is this man?
Probably my age, maybe 35. Just judging by his face. Acts like a child, though. An elected official, guys, making TikToks in the middle of them supposedly doing their jobs. Kind of disgusting, to be honest. But what do you expect from the left? What do you expect from un-American? Fuck it. Un-American individuals.
It's not even about the issue for me. Okay, it could be something I totally disagreed with that they were debating on the floor. And I still would think that somebody posting something like that would be extremely childish and not representational of the people of Connecticut.
I guarantee there's people in Bridgeport that support guns, guys. Right? So how many constituents did you just tell them, I don't care. I don't care about you.
Yep.
Very disappointing, guys. Very, very disappointing in
Connecticut.
These politicians. On the vote for HB 7042, we covered the House of Reps when they voted, which was 4-4, 5-5. Dems and Republicans flip-flopped everything on the votes. In the Senate, which is an 11-25 split, there were, I believe, like 35 amendments proposed.
Yeah, every one of them, which made it many of them would have made this bill
a bit better.
Well, not better. I don't even want to say better. It would have made it clearer. So the parameters would have been much clearer to those involved in what this law will do. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And there was a Republican who jumped ship. Would you like to take a guess?
Oh, I know. It was Huang from Newtown.
Yep, that anti-gun Republican, but he's a Republican.
Can somebody please primary that? person.
And then there was a Democrat who jumped ship in the Senate too. And she went to our side. I think it was a she. And maybe Heather Summers. Is that a name? Catherine Austin?
Austin.
Austin. Okay.
She is a Dem, but she has always stood by gun owners.
Okay.
She's very good with gun owners. She's from the over by Stonington area.
Yeah, I was just looking her up.
So she's way out on that side of the state by Rhode Island. So it's a very quiet state, but they're also very pro-gun out there.
Okay.
So she's
Columbia, Franklin, Hebron, Lebanon, Marlboro, Lisbon, Montville, Norwich, and Sprague. I was close enough.
Dubitsky does Sprague also. So
good for her, right? Good job. I appreciate your vote. What was the guy's name?
Huang.
You can go take a long walk off a short pier.
As a Republican, it's great to see you standing up for our rights.
So they promote him all the time on their social media as this great Republican.
Well, he gets in because he's a Republican in Sandy Hook.
It's a rhino.
Right. But he has an R next to his name, so Sandy Hook can say we have an R, except your R is not standing up for any of your rights, and he votes with the ones taking your rights away.
All the time. Every single time.
When it comes to taxes, guns, any of it.
It's amazing. Upcoming podcast, guys. State Senator Rob Sampson is coming back on the podcast, so you will see him within a month or so. We will talk about the legislative session. We probably will bring up 704 some other gun bills and whatnot.
Not as in depth. It's going to be more of an
overview.
His viewpoint
and his long testimony, which I certainly appreciate. And then we're working on getting some other politicians in here. We will see who we can schedule and get in here. We got another one scheduled. We'll save the surprise for that one. And working on maybe a lieutenant governor candidate.
Yep.
Maybe a governor candidate. Who knows? We'll be getting some more and more people in here. Anything else to add?
No, I have liked seeing everybody, like more comments are coming through. I've loved seeing that on Facebook. It gives us, a little bit of a boost to let us know we're doing the right thing or wrong thing, however you want to post. We always put up there, if you have any suggestions, if there's anybody you'd like to hear from, let us know. If you have a contact close up, have them reach out to myself or to Josh, and we'll work with them. But we're working on getting we want to make sure people are in the know when it comes to the next election cycle. Not this one. This one's your locals. It's extremely important because that's where they recruit the people to go up top.
Yep.
But so everybody should go out and vote. But we want to get people listening to the candidates that are coming in for the following election so that you guys are prepared and you have some knowledge under your belts and you can make an educated decision for who works for you.
Definitely. Share anytime you see us, guys. Share the podcast. That's all you have to do on social media. Hit the little share button. Doesn't take long. 3 seconds. Subscribe if you haven't already. I don't know, like the video or the podcast or wherever you're watching this. And my name's Josh.
I'm Michelle.
We'll see you guys next time.
Bye-bye.
Lock and Load podcast is sponsored by Lock and Load Firearms, Connecticut's #1 rated gun store and pistol permit class on Google. Come check us out, 1573 Meriden Waterbury Turnpike in Southington. Lock and Load Firearms.
Lock and Load podcast is also sponsored by Patriot Wear Holsters, custom-made Kydex holsters locally made in Waterbury, Connecticut. www.patriotwearholster.com and use code LNL podcast for 10% off your purchase. Orders available for shipping or pickup at various locations.